Welcome to the Explainer. So, Google just dropped this huge update for its research tool, NotebookLM. But here's the thing, they kinda tucked all the details away in a single blog post. So today, we're gonna dig in and uncover the really game-changing stuff that, honestly, most people have probably missed.
And look, let's just start with this quote from Parker Prompts. This is a power user who spent a whole week just hammering away at these changes. And his take? It really gets to the core of what's going on here.
Yeah, you heard that right. 80%, a massive 80% of what NotebookLM can do now is totally new. So if you're still using it the same way you were a few months ago, you are leaving so much power on the table. It's kind of crazy.
All right, so what is driving this massive leap forward? Well, it all starts under the hood, with the core engine that makes the whole thing run.
So, get this. The entire system that reads your sources, they tore it down and rebuilt it from the ground up. See, the old version had this really strict limit. If you had a big notebook full of documents, it would just give up and only look at a small chunk of it. And that's why you'd get these super vague, unhelpful answers. Well, the new system, that's all gone. And when you look at the numbers, the sheer scale of this upgrade is just wow. The amount of source material it can chew through at once, that's up by 8 times. And its memory of your conversation, so it doesn't forget what you were talking about 5 minutes ago, is 6 times longer. That means you can finally have those really complex, in-depth chats without it losing the plot.
So what's the result of all that? Well, Google's reporting a 50% jump in the quality of answers for those really big notebooks. And here's the key. Testers notice it right away. The answers are just sharper, they're way more specific, and they're actually pulling from sources that the old version would have totally ignored.
Okay, but a more powerful engine is really only half the battle, right? To get the most out of it, you need to be able to give it better instructions. And that, right there, is where the next huge update comes into play.
And honestly, this is the real game changer. You know that little box where you tell the AI how to act and what kind of answer you want? It just exploded. It went from a tiny 500 characters, we're talking like 2 sentences, to a whopping 10,000 characters. That's a 20-fold increase in your ability to control this thing.
So what does that huge character limit actually let you do? Well, you can finally move beyond just a simple one-line prompt. You can now write out a full, detailed job description for the AI. You're basically turning it from a generic, jack-of-all-trades chatbot into a hyper-specialized assistant built just for you.
So think about it. You're not just asking a question anymore. You're telling the AI exactly how to find the answer, how to process it, and how to present it back to you. You can force it to use a certain structure, demand that it cites its sources, and make it way, way more reliable. It becomes a serious research partner.
Okay, so we've got a new engine and a whole new way to give it directions. Now let's talk about the studio. The part of the app where you actually create stuff. Because that got a complete makeover too. Okay, that audio overview feature, it was already pretty cool, but now it's no longer a one-trick pony. Instead of just getting one long deep dive, you now have choices. You can get a quick 2-minute brief, a critique where the AI points out weak arguments in your sources, or, and this is wild, a full-on debate where 2 AI hosts argue different viewpoints based on your documents.
All right, and what about that soul-crushing task of trying to compare data across a bunch of different documents? Copying and pasting into a spreadsheet. It has always been a super tedious manual job. Well, not anymore.
The new data tables feature makes all that pain just disappear. It's now literally one click. You tell it what you want to compare, and boom, it generates a clean, structured table from all your sources. And the best part? You can export it right to Google Sheets with a single click. Hours of work done in seconds.
And it's not just tables. Your control over visuals, like infographics or slides, is way more precise now. You can pick the orientation, landscape, portrait, whatever. You can choose how much detail you want. But the really cool part is you can use a custom prompt to describe the exact style you're going for. Something like, give me a clean editorial magazine look.
Okay, this brings us to the final major update, and trust me, it's a big one. For the first time ever, NotebookLM is no longer this isolated island where all your research is trapped.
What this does is create a whole new workflow for researchers. So, step 1, you do your grounded, fact-checked research inside NotebookLM using your own trusted sources. Then, when you're ready to get creative, you can pull that entire notebook into the Gemini app and use it as a trusted knowledge base.
And here's why that is so important.
It means all the creative stuff you generate in Gemini, whether it's an email, a script, or an article, is now based on your curated, verified sources, not just the AI's generic internet-wide training data. You get all the creative firepower of Gemini, but it's grounded in the facts and research that you control.
So let's pull it all together. We've got the new engine, the new chat controls, the new creation studio, and the new integrations. After all that, what's the one thing you really need to remember?
Look, every single one of these updates is powerful in its own right. But that 10,000 character prompt field, that's the one that changes everything. The ability to basically build your own personal research assistant tuned perfectly to your needs, that's what unlocks the full potential of this tool. You know, as these AI tools keep evolving at this insane speed, the gap between people who just use the default settings and the people who really dig in and customize them, well, that gap is just going to get wider and wider. The question is, which side are you going to be on? The real power is in your hands now.